Tonight on Y News, the Health Department confirms the first case of novel coronavirus in the Philippines. Novel coronavirus death toll rises to 170 in mainland China as countries struggle to evacuate their citizens. The Federal Bureau of Investigation arrests 3 members of the church founded by Apollo Kibuloy for human trafficking and fundraising scams. Exclusive UNTV underwater drone gives a clearer picture of the Ashy Taal Lake water after the volcano eruption. Kobe Bryant's widow, Vanessa, breaks her silence after her husband and daughter died in a helicopter crash on Sunday. Good evening. China reported its biggest single-day jump in novel coronavirus deaths on Thursday as confirmation that 3 Japanese evacuated from the outbreak's epicenter were infected deepened fears about a global contagion. The World Health Organization, which initially downplayed the severity of a disease, warned all governments to be on alert as it weighed whether to declare a global health emergency. Kath Dumaraos details this report.
The coronavirus death toll rose to 170 on Thursday, up from 132 reported on Wednesday, a rise of 29%. The number of confirmed cases in China now stands at 7,711, up from 5,974 a day earlier. It is understood that 162 of the deaths, or 95%, are in Hubei province, where Wuhan is located. Of the new deaths, 37 were in Hubei province and 1 in the southwestern province of Sichuan. The World Health Organization, which initially downplayed the severity of the disease, has warned all governments to be on alert, with the UN agency's emergency committee due to meet later on Thursday to decide whether to declare the outbreak a global health emergency. The WHO's emergencies chief, Dr. Michael Ryan, said the few cases of human-to-human spread of the virus outside China, in Japan, Germany, Canada, and Vietnam, were of great concern.
We, as WHO, believe that these chains of transmission can still be interrupted. This disease is still spreading from person to person through personal contact between individuals and through proper management of hygiene, proper management of case identification, isolation and social distancing. Like in previous outbreaks of coronavirus, we may be able to, working with the government in China and other governments, stop those transmission chains.
The US and Japan have started evacuating citizens, and other countries are poised to send chartered flights to the city amid reports that some evacuation had been held up by delays in obtaining permission from the Chinese authorities. A British flight to bring about 200 nationals back to the UK was unable to take off as planned on Thursday. The Foreign Office said it was working urgently to organize a flight to the UK as soon as possible. Australia is yet to gain permission from the Chinese government to evacuate hundreds of its citizens, and New Zealand has launched a separate rescue mission from its neighbor, though a timeline is still unclear. France, South Korea, and other countries are also pulling out their citizens or making plans to do so. About 250 French citizens and 100 other Europeans will be flown out of Wuhan on board 2 French planes this week. Businesses are beginning to feel the impact of the outbreak. Several airlines, including British Airways, have suspended services to China.
You know, China's a big place, obviously, and so even airlines that have cut flights to Hubei province, where the outbreak is occurring, still have service to a number of other, major points, including major transfer points such as Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu. So it's really not a question of entirely cutting service. It's a question of cutting service where the effects are most pronounced.
While Toyota, IKEA, Foxconn, Starbucks, Tesla, and McDonald's were among major companies to temporarily freeze production or close large numbers of outlets in China. Almost 200 Americans who were evacuated from Wuhan on Wednesday are undergoing 3 days of testing and monitoring at a Southern California military base to make sure they do not show signs of the virus. In Japan, 3 of the 206 people repatriated on Wednesday have tested positive for the coronavirus, bringing the number of confirmed cases in the country to 11. A second group of 210 Japanese nationals arrived in Tokyo on Thursday morning. Authorities in Taiwan, where 8 cases have been confirmed, have banned the residents of Hubei province from entering the island. Several countries in Asia are battling the virus on a second front, the spread of online rumors about affected areas and the number of deaths. Kat Numaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
A labor group suggests the Philippine government must prepare should the situation due to the 2019 novel coronavirus worsen. The group adds that health and frontline workers must be equipped with protective gears while performing their jobs that require direct contact with travelers from other countries. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
The Philippines is one of the countries that send millions of workers abroad. The Commission on Population and Development, or POPCOM, says the government should prepare on how to absorb the returning OFWs if the situation will get worse due to the threat of the 2019 novel coronavirus.
Remember, there are 10 to 12 million migrant workers worldwide. So we have to be ready to absorb them over the next year or two. All have to come back.
POPCOM further says remittances from OFWs may also reduce, especially from areas with confirmed cases of 2019 nCoV like China and Hong Kong.
That Hong Kong is covered by this coronavirus issue will also lead to a reduction of deployment there, and we will have that effect on the economy. But for now, it is not large, I believe.
Undersecretary Juan Antonio Perez III adds facilities should be prepared to prevent the spread of the nCoV. Proper protection should also be given to health workers and even those working on airplanes, cruise ships, and the Bureau of Immigration, as they are directly exposed to travelers entering the country. The Philippines' geographical location is an advantage in dealing with viruses.
We're not like a country like China or yung mga countries around China na mahaba ang mga border na madaling mag-cross over. For us, you really have to go to our ports and airports. So that is an advantage.
Labor Group Associated Labor Unions Trade Union Congress of the Philippines calls on employers to equip their employees with proper gears to protect them from the new coronavirus. The group stresses that if workers' health will be at risk, they may refuse to work. This is stated in Republic Act 10058, or the Act in Strengthening Compliance with Occupational Safety and Health Hazards, enacted in November 2019.
Kapag ang mga manggagawa sa tingin nila ay unsafe at unhealthy para sa kanila para magtrabaho, maaari ho silang hindi pumasok at hindi magtrabaho at ipag-alam sa kanilang mga employer na may hazard o may risk kapag sila ay magpatuloy na magtrabaho.
Alan Tanhusay's group also emphasized that workers directly exposed to the threat of the disease must be given hazard pay. Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Ninoy Aquino International Airport continues to cater flights to mainland China amid the 2019 novel coronavirus outbreak. This, although more than 10 countries have canceled flights to the country where the Wuhan coronavirus originated from. Asher Kadapan Jr. details why.
Travel demand has lowered in the past days due to the 2019 novel coronavirus outbreak, which has forced more and more countries to either reduce or totally suspend flight operations to mainland China. These countries include Canada, India, the United States, South Korea, Australia, the United Kingdom, Finland, Germany, Switzerland, France, and Singapore. On the other hand, the Philippine government continues to implement an indefinite suspension of direct flights to Wuhan City, Hubei Province, China, where the 2019 nCoV originated. Flights to other parts of China continue to operate at Ninoy Aquino International Airport, which include flights to Beijing, Shanghai, Xiamen, Jinjiang, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou City. These places are more or less than 1,000 kilometers away from the city of Wuhan. We interviewed a Filipina who traveled from Germany to NAIA, whose flight stopped over in Guangzhou City.
Yung loob ng aeroplano sinakyan ko. Maluwag na maluwag kami. Pwede kang lumipat. Minsan mo gusto, miski yung papunta ng from Frankfurt to Changsha, konti lang rin ng tao.
Delia has also shared what she witnessed in the city of Guangzhou.
Mahigpit sila. Lahat ng taong makasalubong mo may mask. So, ito, no?
Face mask.
Yeah, may face mask. Oo. So, hindi nakikipag-usap. Tapos, 5 o'clock, sarado na sila lahat. Wala nang mga store na bukas. So, wala ka nang malilibutan, walang mga restaurant, walang shopping mall. Tapos, very few people lang yung, konti-konti lang tao yung nasa labas. No?
Heightened security protocols are continuously implemented in airlines and airports in various countries to prevent the spread of the 2019 nCoV. Yesterday, President Rodrigo Duterte said the Philippines will not yet implement a travel ban to and from China. The chief executive said that in case the situation on the novel coronavirus outbreak worsens, the government is prepared to implement strong measures. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
China's Center for Disease Prevention and Control called for special protection of children and elderlies with underlying health conditions as they may be at increased risk due to the novel coronavirus. Mirasol Abogadil details why.
The middle-aged and senior citizens who have some chronic diseases are facing higher risks if infected with the novel coronavirus, said a senior health official on Wednesday. Feng Shijian, deputy director of the China Center for Disease Prevention and Control, said on Tuesday that an expert team in China has carried out numerous studies on the novel coronavirus, which causes deadly pneumonia, and offered solutions to the disease control.
According to the monitoring of the current epidemic situation, we have indeed confirmed some children and infant cases, but their clinical symptoms are relatively light. The severe cases mainly involve the elderly and the middle-aged people who face relatively high risks of critical situation and death due to existing chronic diseases.
Feng called for special protection of children and the elderly in the course of preventing and controlling the epidemic, especially in areas with high intensity occurrence.
The elderly and children should minimize the frequency of going to public places or taking public transport means and do well in personal protection, like wearing mouth masks when hanging out. Families must pay particular attention to the protection of children and infants if any family member is infested with respiratory diseases.
The coronavirus can cause symptoms ranging in severity from fever and fatigue to pneumonia and septic shock. But that doesn't mean that otherwise healthy people can rest easy in the face of the growing viral outbreak. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
There is currently no vaccine to prevent 2019 nCoV infection. The best way to prevent infection is to avoid being exposed to this virus. However, as a reminder, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, always recommends everyday preventive actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory viruses, including washing your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol if soap and water are not available. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue, then throw the tissue in the trash can. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. People who think they may have been exposed to the 2019 nCoV should contact your healthcare provider immediately.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Angelo Castro III left off. I'm Alex Baltazar, and here are the headlines. The Philippines has confirmed its first case of novel coronavirus. Face masks sell out in pharmacies in Manila amid coronavirus threat. Talisay, Batangas residents affected by the Taal volcano eruption face water supply woes. The Federal Bureau of Investigation arrests 3 members of the church founded by Apollo Kibuloy for human trafficking and fundraising scam. Exclusive UNTV underwater drone gives clearer picture of the ashy Taal Lake water after the volcano's eruption. Good evening. The Department of Health advises the public to stay calm and vigilant despite the first confirmed case of 2019 novel coronavirus in the Philippines. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization clarifies the infectivity rate of the 2019 nCoV is lower than that of SARS and measles. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The Department of Health reports today the first confirmed case of 2019 novel coronavirus in the Philippines. The case is that of a 38-year-old female Chinese from Wuhan City in Hubei Province, China, who flew to the Philippines via Hong Kong on January 21. The result of the confirmatory test done on a female Chinese patient arrived today from Australia's Victorian Infectious Diseases Reference Laboratory. Currently, the patient is asymptomatic, isolated, is continuously being monitored in a government health facility in Metro Manila.
Which means she has no fever and no other signs and symptoms suggesting illness at this point. I assure that the public that the DOH is on top of this evolving situation. We were able to detect the first confirmed case because of our strong surveillance system, close coordination with the World Health Organization and other national agencies.
The DOH assures the public the government is taking all the necessary measures to prevent the spread of the new strain of coronavirus.
We are working closely with the hospital where the patient is admitted and have activated the incident command system of the said hospital for appropriate management, specifically on infection control, case management, and containment.
The Health Department, in coordination with other government agencies, has begun contact tracing on all passengers who took the same flight as the female patients from Wuhan City to the Philippines. There are 29 patients under investigation in the country as of today. Of them, 23 are currently admitted. 5 have been discharged but are still under strict monitoring. The Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases will meet tomorrow to discuss the first confirmed case and developments arising from this event. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III reiterates that to avoid virus infection, a person must stay hydrated. Hydration must come with a healthy lifestyle, proper sanitation, wearing of face masks, keeping away from persons who show symptoms of respiratory infection.
We should be very conscious about personal hygiene, such as washing of the hands for 20 seconds, palm and at the back of the hands and the digits, make that 20 seconds, and we recommend as often as you can. If not, if you have alcohol, you apply alcohol on your hands, on your palms, and then the cough etiquette, maintaining the distance of not less than 1 meter apart from the next guy in front, at the back, or at your side. And the hydration, drinking a lot of water, because as I have read yesterday in some articles, it appears that the virus will be difficult to inactivate in low temperatures and low humidity or dry atmosphere. I strongly recommend as your doctor that you have to drink a lot of water, make sure your throat is moist so that the virus doesn't attach to it and gets eventually absorbed.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization clarifies the infectivity rate of the 2019 nCoV is lower than that of SARS-CoV and measles virus. The increasing number of 2019 nCoV cases worldwide only shows how well case management is being handled.
in this case is lower than for SARS. The numbers have improved, reflecting the increased preparedness and readiness of the Chinese and the early start to the testing of people. So we have to look at it in that context and not purely compare numbers, right? We are talking 17 years later, enhanced preparedness and capacities, and larger populations. So we would have expected to see more numbers.
The DOH urges the public to stay calm and remain vigilant at all times. Listen only to verified reports from the DOH and WHO for proper protocol and management of the 2019 nCoV cases. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Some stores in Manila City have run out of face masks. Meanwhile, a university in Manila City begins to screen its students and visitors in the campus amid the new coronavirus scare. Joan Ano tells us why.
After the Department of Health confirmed the first case of 2019 new coronavirus in the Philippines, many Filipinos are now wearing face masks due to fear of possible infection of the deadly virus. Several stores in Manila that sell protective masks are now running out of stock as many people rush to buy face masks.
Naubusan kami sir nung Monday kasi yung mga tao po bumibili po dahil po sa coronavirus.
A customer was disappointed that he could not buy even one face mask after waiting in queues in more than one store.
Sa isang pilahan, mga isang oras nakatayo ka. Sa dulo, wala rin pala. Dilipat ka sa kabilang pila. Pagdating sa dulo, wala rin. Ito ngayon, katatapos lang, wala na. Di oras na.
According to some suppliers, stocks will arrive next month. Meanwhile, Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila or PLM has begun deploying inspectors with infrared thermometers at all entry points of the campus to check students, employees, and visitors. The PLM University Health Services says it will regularly conduct the such screening until the new coronavirus scare is over. Joan Ano, UNTV News and Rescue.
The residents of the municipality of Talisay in Batangas province are having a hard time after getting displaced by the recent volcanic eruption. They have to clean up their surroundings with no water. Nina Armilio reports why.
After the Taal volcano's alert level was downgraded to alert level 3, residents of Talisay town in Batangas have been allowed to return to their homes. But Talisay residents are now faced with another challenge. They need to clean up their surroundings, but without water. This is because there is no water supply in the area coming from the local water district since last year, residents say. Some of them have no choice but to go to nearby areas where there is water.
Kailangan ng tao talaga. Yan, ultimo mga bata. Makakita kami hindi makapaglaba. Nadayo pa kami kung saan paglalaba. Yeah, sobrang nakakaawa ang tao dito.
What they do is fetch water from adjacent Tagaytay City, where water is sold at 50 pesos for a drumful. That is why their water usage is very limited.
Ang hirap sobra. Dahil ako hindi kami iigib ng Tagaytay, wala. Ang pagtitipid, pinaglaban siya namin ibinubo sa CR, ipon. Ganun na lang, tapos itipid ang paggamit.
Pagka po maglalaba, yung pong malinaw na tubig na pinag-anlawan, iniipon po namin para pang CR namin. Ganun po. Pag maliligo, sinasahod sa planggana, para pang CR din namin yun. Ganun po kami.
What the residents of Talisay hope for is normal supply of water. UNTV News awaits a statement from the concessionaire of the local water district about the issue. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Fisher folk who rely on the marine life in Taal Lake begin to sell tilapia and bangus again. Fishery authorities allay fears of the public about eating fish from Taal Lake. Sherwin Colobong tells us why.
The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, or BFAR, says fish caught in Taal Lake is safe to eat. Fisher folk whose fish cages were damaged after the Taal volcano eruption are able to catch fish that got out of the cages. But due to weeks of lockdown in towns around the lake, quite a volume of fish died since their owners could not feed them.
Ang report naman ay maraming buhay na isda. May mga na-damage na cages, siyempre.
A local fisher folk shared they are able to catch up to 50 kilograms of tilapia that had gotten out of damaged cages. These are sold at 70 pesos per kilogram. Bangus is sold at 80 to 90 pesos per kilogram.
Marami naman, naabot ng minsan ng 50 kilos maghapon. Halo-halo, minsan may payat, may mataba, minsan may maliit, may malaki. Halos may nahuli namang malaki, mayroong nahuli maliit.
Sherwin Kulubong, UNTV, News and Rescue, Batangas.
The Philippine National Police orders the policemen deployed in Batangas to undergo medical checkup. This after they were pulled out as ordered by the President. Leia Ilagan tells us why.
The Philippine National Police Reactionary Standby Support Force or RSSF are now back to Camp Crame after 2 weeks of duty in Batangas assisting in the relief and rescue operations for residents affected by the Taal volcano eruption. PNP spokesperson Police Brigadier General Bernard Banac says they pulled out the troops last night as ordered by President Rodrigo Duterte. The police official explains the president is worried about the health of the police officers because of the effect of volcanic ash. So the PNP orders the RSSF to undergo medical checkup in the PNP General Hospital to ensure its members are with good health condition after performing their duty in Batangas.
Upang tingnan kung meron sa kanilang mga nagkaroon ng lung ailment or anumang difficulty in breathing or nahirapan humihinga o paghinga, dala na rin nung kanilang deployment doon sa Batangas.
Banac says the policemen who will undergo the checkup will not spend money even for medicine.
Meron tayong mga available na mga gamot para tugunan ang kanilang pangailangan kung may kinakailangang medications na gagawin para sa kanila.
According to the PNP spokesperson, policemen in Cavite and Batangas may proceed to the PNP General Hospital in their area to undergo a free medical checkup. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Evacuees from Laurel, Batangas remain in evacuation centers even after the government advised them they can return to their houses. Vincent Arboleda tells us why.
Despite their eagerness to return to their houses, evacuees from Laurel, Batangas cannot return to their homes as they lack money and vehicle to transfer their belongings back to their houses. They can only stay inside the evacuation center in Barangay Lapu-Lapu in Ibaan, Batangas.
Wala man kami pera. Paano kami magkakapira? Narito kami sa evacuation center. Kaya kailangan namin ng kanilang ayuda na service. Yun ang gusto mangyayari namin.
34 families or 113 individuals are now temporarily taking shelter inside this evacuation center.
Pero gusto namin umuwi dahil nga nagbabalayas na kami dahil gusto namin umuwi sa aming tahanan.
They have lost their livelihood. Now they plan to consume the relief goods they receive until the government's livelihood assistance arrives. Plus, they have yet to receive their disaster assistance family access cards from the DSWD. The card will be used for monitoring affected families that will be given government assistance. For the time being, the barangay officials of Lapu-Lapu in Ibaan, Batangas are willing to provide for the needs of these evacuees until the time they can afford to return home. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Batangas.
An animal rescue group calls for a one-time big-time rescue operation for animals on the Taal volcano island that survived the recent volcanic eruption. A center suggested a waiver may be used by anybody who wants to proceed with the operation, but the Interior Department says otherwise. Bernard Dadis tells us why.
After the Taal volcano's eruption, there are still signs of life at the Taal volcano island, according to Dr. Romelito Marasigan of the Batangas Provincial Veterinary Office. According to their data, 800 horses, 228 cows, and more than 200 swines are registered on Taal volcano island. He adds that when they conducted an aerial survey over Alas Asa Nicolas area, they found 36 cows alive. But as of now, they cannot tell the exact number of animals that survived the volcanic eruptions since they have not completed their surveillance on the entire island. The provincial veterinarian offices plan to rescue the remaining live animals.
Right now po, yung mga kasama natin, nagsiset up po tayo ng trap doon sa area, gagawa ng koral. Para mapapasok po doon, and doon po natin sila dadamputin.
Attorney Heidi Caguio of Animal Rescue Incorporated calls for a collaborative effort for a one-time big-time rescue operation for the animals that survived on the volcano island. She adds that as the island has been declared a no man's island, the same must be implemented for animals.
Paano po yun? Gusto nating masalba. Saan po kami tatakbo? Tapos sasabihin po no man's land, babalik naman yung mga tao para kunin po yung mga hayop.
But according to PBOX, they can only recommend but cannot decide whether to allow or not anybody to conduct rescue operations on the island. PBOX reiterates it is still dangerous to venture and stay on the volcano island. Since the government won't allow it, but the others want to conduct rescue operations for the surviving animals, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa suggested a waiver must be signed.
Pulis-pulis ito. Ganito na lang siguro gawin natin. Walang sisihan kung anong mangyari. Pero magkaya ng waiver. Sige. Kung may mangyari sa amin doon, walang gobyerno. Hindi namin sisihan ang gobyerno.
It's foolish, but it can be a solution.
But the Department of the Interior and local government says such solution is not allowed.
While okay po yung waiver, at the end of the day, public policy and public safety and interest dictates that even with the waiver, it's still the responsibility of government. So kahit may mangyari sa kanila, kahit may waiver po, pwede pa rin sisihin si gobyerno.
Even the provincial administration of Batangas has made a firm stand to implement a no-entry policy in danger zones.
We do not allow activity in that danger zone.
The Senate committee hearing will continue in the following days on the proposed resettlement of evacuated families from the Taal Volcano Island. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
Welcome back to Y News. 3 members of Davao City-based Kingdom of Jesus Christ, the name above every name, headed by Apollo Kibuloy, were arrested by agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in different locations in the United States as part of an ongoing probe on a human trafficking and fundraising scam. According to the FBI, Kibuloy's members were allegedly sent to different locations in the U.S. and forced to work as volunteers to raise money to finance the operations of their church and the lavish lifestyle of its leaders. Sonny Cos has this story.
The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, on Thursday Manila time arrested the top 3 members of the Philippine-based church for charges of conspiracy to commit immigration fraud. A federal complaint alleged that Gia Kabaktulan, 59, the top Kingdom of Jesus Christ, the name above every name, or KOJC official in the U.S., Marisa Duenas, 41, and Amanda Estopare, 48, of the KOJC facilitated the entry of church members to the United States to work as fundraisers for a church-owned charity while only carrying tourist visas. Federal authorities arrested Kabaktulan and Duenas at the KOJC compound in Van Nuys, California, while Estopare was nabbed in Virginia. The complaint alleged that the 3 obtained visa for church members in the guise of performing in musical events, but once they arrived in the U.S., they were forced to surrender their passports and work long hours as miracle workers to solicit funds for Children's Joy Foundation, or CJF. The said miracle workers would tell donors that their money would support impoverished children in the Philippines, but according to the complaint, the money raised was used to finance the operation of KOJC and the lavish lifestyles of its leaders. Also, the complaint accused the defendants of arranging sham marriages and other illegal mechanisms for members to stay in the U.S. and continue soliciting donations, and then threatened them to face consequences should they fail to meet quota. According to the FBI, the church's bank records show that KOJC accounts received approximately $20 million in cash deposits from 2014 through mid-2019. Following the arrest on Wednesday morning, the FBI executed search warrants at KOJC and CJF offices in Van Nuys, Glendale, and 3 other locations in Los Angeles, as well as in 2 locations linked to KOJC in Hawaii. According to the federal law, the charge of conspiracy to commit immigration fraud carries a statutory maximum penalty of 5 years in federal prison. In 2018, Kibuloy himself was briefly detained in Hawaii after U.S. authorities discovered $350,000 in cash and rifle parts inside his private jet. Sanicos, UNTV News and Rescue, Los Angeles, USA.
In a press conference in Davao City today, a legal counsel and spokesperson for Kibuloy denied the allegations, saying they are ready to face the charges and their local church administrators in U.S. were just exercising their religious rights. President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered his cabinet members to stop traveling to the United States. Malacanang defends the president's order, but a senator expresses concern about its possible adverse effect on the country's economy. Harleen Delgado reports why.
Malacanang defends President Rodrigo Duterte's latest order to stop his cabinet members from traveling to the United States. According to presidential spokesperson and chief presidential legal counsel Salvador Panelo, the president's move to boycott the United States seems to be a protest against the U.S.'s actions.
My personal insight of that decision sa boycott is more of a protest sa ginagawa nila sa mga kababayan natin. Dapat lang naman, huwag pumunta ron. Kinakansila nila yung sa kasama nating senador. Kung baga sabi niya nga, boycott tayo.
However, Senator Panfilo Lacson expresses concern, saying the president's move might have consequences on the country's economy and security. The senator hopes some members of the cabinet will have the courage to speak to the president to reconsider his decision. To this, Secretary Panelo responds,
He's entitled to his opinion, but I don't think so.
The palace spokesman adds the president's decision to cancel the visiting forces agreement between the Philippines and the U.S. is now final. However, the Department of Foreign Affairs shall write a letter formalizing the VFA termination and send it to the United States. It will take effect after 180 days. Panelo explains the termination will not affect other agreements with the U.S., including the Mutual Defense Treaty and the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. The Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, chaired by Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III, has earlier said they will include the 2 agreements in its review of the VFA. The Secretary adds, should the VFA gets terminated, U.S. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton will remain in the Philippines. Pemberton has been detained in Camp Aguinaldo for killing transgender woman Jennifer Laude in 2014.
He will remain in custody because he's been convicted by a Philippine.
Panelo also clarified the president's toning down of relations with the U.S. is not an act to appease the Philippines to other big allies, China and Russia.
You know, it's about time that we, as a country, relies on our own resources. We cannot be relying on others. We have to strengthen our capability in defending ourselves.
Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, Alex. Chinese enterprises are gearing up to develop testing kit for novel coronavirus that has caused confirmed cases of pneumonia to thousands of people across the country, with central China's Hubei province at the highest risk. Stephanie C. has this report.
Chinese authorities have given quick approval to 6 companies to develop coronavirus testing kits and encouraged them to expand production to meet the urgent needs. So far, the nucleic acid test is the key to diagnose the virus, but reagents are in acute shortage. A total of 20,000 units of reagents donated to Hubei province of this batch will be screened by medical professionals in Wuhan University Zhongnan Hospital.
We plan to donate 10,000 units to Wuhan and other parts of Hubei province, respectively.
The current daily output is 50,000 units, while efforts are being made to expand the production. The target is set at 10,000 to meet the demand. Now the test only takes 3 hours to get the result upon receipt of the sample, excluding the time of prior delivery of the sample. Therefore, the whole process of diagnosis still needs to be optimized to make it more convenient.
Once the problem of reagent is solved, then we should focus on personnel and the laboratory environment.
Meanwhile, Guangzhou Dacheng Medical Technology Company from South China's Guangdong province has also obtained approval to enter the market. The company said the kit can produce reliable results in 2 hours, and daily production can serve 200,000 people. That number is soon expected to reach 500,000. This is expected to help address a severe shortage of diagnostic kits in Wuhan and surrounding areas. At present, hundreds of workers of production, development, and quality supervision departments have returned to their posts, with vital departments working on 24-hour shifts to provide reagents for Wuhan. Stephanie C., UNTV News and Rescue.
Members of the European Parliament have overwhelmingly backed the terms of the UK's departure from the EU, while for some it's a victory, for others a disaster. Jovic Burmas details why.
When Britain's flag is to come down in Brussels at midnight on January 31st, the UK's 73 member of the European Parliament or MEPs among all 751 MEPs will also become history. While for some it's a victory, for others a disaster. The European Parliament voted to approve the Withdrawal Agreement on Wednesday after Prime Minister Boris Johnson signed the treaty last Friday, paving the way for Britain's exit from the European Union or EU. During the transition period, which ends on December 31st this year, Britain will abide by EU rules despite no longer being a member. Negotiations between Britain and the EU will soon start on a future trade deal.
I think Britain has had a really strong influence here. We've been a big player. I mean, we've always been slightly difficult. We've wanted opt-outs. We've wanted to do things differently. We've wanted to always be the special case. But in a way, they quite like that. You know, Britain is quirky and likes to do things its own way. But we've been a strong voice, maybe not always agreeing with France or Germany, and that's been really important for balance in the European Union.
For many of her fellow MEPs, there's relief that it's over, but sorry sadness at seeing their British colleagues go.
It's been the end of an agony, and I'm only sad that it is an example of a lose-lose negotiation, not a win-win.
The disruptive antics of the Brexit party, though, such as turning their backs during the playing of the EU anthem, will not be missed.
Not sorry of putting an end to this hypocrisy unbearable of some British MEPs which have made a big business of opposing the European ideal.
Britain has traditionally played a very active role in trying to shape EU policy, including in areas such as free trade. Many now wonder how the EU might change without a British presence here. Trade is one area of concern, with fears here that Britain could become a low-tax competitor on its borders, while security is another issue.
All are following what's going on once again in the Middle East, and here again, I guess from Europe's point of view, also full cooperation with the UK, with the rest of Europe is absolutely important, be it this issue of our common security or any other.
It's taken Britain 3 years of bitter internal debate to finally leave the EU and the negotiations on its future trade, and other relationships could be maybe prove equally challenging. Jovic Burmas, UNTV News and Rescue, London, United Kingdom.
A federal jury decided that Apple and Broadcom Incorporated must pay $1.1 billion to the California Institute of Technology. Meanwhile, Palestinian demonstrators and Israeli security forces clashed in various locations in the West Bank following U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East peace plan. Here's Beverly Saison to tell us why.
In Jerusalem, Palestinians protested across the West Bank and in Jerusalem on Wednesday to vent their anger over U.S. President Donald Trump's proposals for a Middle East peace plan. Israeli police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse the protests, and 3 Palestinians were arrested in Jerusalem. Protesters could be seen burning tires as they blocked the roads. Trump's proposal to create a Palestinian state as part of a Middle East peace plan drew Palestinian condemnation for imposing strict conditions and praise from Israelis for allowing Israel to maintain control of long-contested West Bank settlements. Trump set in motion a 4-year timeline for Palestinians to agree to a security arrangement with Israel, halt attacks by the Islamist militant group Hamas, and set up governing institutions in order to establish a Palestinian state with its capital in Abu Dis, a part of East Jerusalem. In Beijing, China, Alphabet Incorporated's Google is temporarily shutting down all of its offices in China due to the outbreak of a new coronavirus in the country, technology website The Verge reported on Wednesday. The shutdown includes all offices in mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, according to the report. The flu-like virus has killed over 130 people in China and has set off alarm across the globe, with companies closing stores, putting travel restrictions on employees, and warning of a financial hit from slowing business in the world's most populous country. In the USA, the California Institute of Technology said on Wednesday that it won a $1.1 billion jury verdict in a patent case against Apple and Broadcom. In a case filed in federal court in Los Angeles in 2016, the Pasadena, California-based research university alleged that Broadcom Wi-Fi chips used in hundreds of millions of Apple iPhones infringed patents relating to data transmission technology. Apple said it plans to appeal the verdict, but declined further comment. The company had said in court filings that it believed all of the university's claims against it resulted from its using Broadcom's chips in its devices, calling itself merely an indirect downstream party. Broadcom did not respond immediately to a request for comment. Broadcom is a major Apple supplier, deriving about a fifth of its sales from the iPhone maker in its fiscal 2019. Last week, Broadcom said it had signed deals to sell as much as $15 billion worth of chips to Apple. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Kath Dumaraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. Four days after the tragic helicopter crash, Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa, shared a lengthy and emotional statement for Kobe's fans. Meanwhile, the Lakers will return to the court for the first time since Bryant's death when they host the Portland Trail Blazers at Staples Center in what is sure to be an emotional game. Nina Armilio details why.
We want to represent what Kobe was about, more than anything. We've always wanted to make him proud, and that's not going to be any different here.
Los Angeles Lakers coach Frank Vogel said on Wednesday his team will aim to epitomize what was great about former star Kobe Bryant, who perished alongside his daughter and 7 others in a helicopter crash near Los Angeles on Sunday. Vogel said the tragedy was bringing the first-place Lakers, who he calls an already tight-knit group, even closer together, and credits team leaders LeBron James and Anthony Davis with helping the players manage their emotions.
we've become a family in a very short time. And, it's something that you talk about in the NBA with your teams. But this group in particular has really grown to love each other very rapidly. And, we understand the importance and the opportunity we have this year.
Bryant, who played 20 seasons for the Lakers, 18 as an all-star forward, and won 5 NBA championships, was known as a fierce competitor on the court and a loving father off of it. Vogel, who coached teams playing Bryant before he retired in 2016, said his legacy was secure.
Well, he was the most feared man in the league for an entire generation. And, the influence is profound, league-wide, basketball community-wide, worldwide, Lakers family, wide, and his influence will be felt forever.
The Lakers will return to the court for the first time since the 41-year-old's death on Friday when they host the Portland Trail Blazers. Meanwhile, Vanessa Bryant made her first public comment Wednesday since the helicopter crash that killed her husband, one of their daughters, and 7 others, taking to Instagram to thank people for the global outpouring of support since the tragedy. She also announced the formation of a fund to help support the other families that were affected by the crash. The Bryants would have celebrated their 19th wedding anniversary this April. They had 4 daughters, including Gianna, the 13-year-old who died in the crash. There has been no announcement on funeral or memorial plans yet for Kobe and Gianna. Vanessa Bryant asked for a continued respect of her family's privacy as they begin to navigate this new reality. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
Fisherfolk living and with livelihood on the volcano island grab every opportunity of earning some and catching even a few fish. The UNTV underwater drone gives a clearer picture of the ashy lake water after the Taal volcano eruption. June Soria reports exclusive.
Many still insist to come to the volcano island to retrieve their belongings, which could still be salvaged. This despite the lingering threat of another major eruption of the Taal volcano. Residents found their boats covered with thick ash. They have no choice but to take them out of the vast gray. Others attempt to catch fish, hoping to sell some. Fish cages have also been ash-laden. Because of this, fisher folk who used to grow fish in the fish cages of others are left with no other option but to catch fish on the loose. Just like Violeta de Ocampo, the 59-year-old local shares that she was only 4 years old when she first experienced an eruption of the Taal volcano.
Kami naman ay mag-aalaga lamang, hindi sarili namin yun. Parang kung tutubo, yun ang aming pagpapartihan pa. Pero malaking lugi. Dahil harvesting pa rin yung aming lumubog na yun eh. Kaya walang natira.
To have a clearer picture of what it looks like now beneath the Taal Lake, UNTV's underwater drone dove. Ashes are everywhere, but a huge amount of tilapia, now out of fish cages, can be seen swimming freely. Because of a lot of fish nets in this part of the lake, the UNTV underwater drone might get entangled with. The modern equipment's motion was limited. The underwater drone could reach as deep as 49 feet, where rocks and ashes have settled. Find out more details of the condition of the Taal Lake and underneath it in UNTV program The Dive. Jun Soriao, UNTV News and Rescue, San Nicolas, Batangas.
And those are the reasons behind the news this January 30, 2020. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am Alex Baltazar, and before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
She has no fever and no other signs and symptoms suggesting illness at this point. I assure that the public that the DOH is on top of this evolving situation.
We
as WHO, believe that these chains of transmission can still be interrupted. This disease is still spreading from person to person through personal contact between individuals and through proper management of hygiene, proper management of case identification, isolation and social distancing.
You know, China's a big place, obviously, and so even airlines that have cut flights to Hubei province, where the outbreak is occurring, still have service to a number of other major points, including major transfer points such as Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu. So it's really not a question of entirely cutting service. It's a question of cutting service where the effects are most pronounced.
Sa isang pilahan, mga isang oras nakatayo ka. Sa dulo, wala rin pala. Dilipat ka sa kabilang pila. Pagdating sa dulo, wala rin. O, ito ngayon, katatapos lang, wala na. Di ano oras na.
Kailangan ng tao talaga. Yan, ultimo mga bata. Nakita kami, hindi makapaglaba. Nadayo pa kami kung saan paglalaba. Kaya sobrang nakakaawa ang tao dito.